Hey folks, it's Shailesh Manjrekar here at CloudFabrix. So very excited to be talking to you about our Splunk integration. So let me kind of give you a little context before I dive into the demo. So primarily, what's our relationship with Splunk, right? So as you probably know, we've been a long-term Cisco partner, a technology partner, and we have now progressed to be a similar technology partner for the Splunk Partners program, right? So we have an relationship with Splunk. So what is the integration we are talking about? Who are the personas who are going to benefit out of this integration? So we think there are primarily three different use cases or personas who would benefit out of this. So first and foremost, there are the platform ops guys who will be able to find the unknown from a network observability perspective. And within that same bucket, there are IT planning personas who are thinking of actually migrating to the cloud or repatriating from the cloud. And these are the personas who want to get an insight into what kind of assets they already have in their deployment. Many a times they don't even know what assets they have, how are they utilized, what happens if I move those assets, and so on and so forth. The second kind of personas are obviously the network admins, and this is the Cisco Network Buying Center. And being a long-term Cisco partner, we know this persona extremely well, and they can benefit out of this integration because we bring in a lot of Cisco data source integrations from a network observability point of view. And the third persona who would benefit is application admins who would be able to determine how the underlying infrastructure affects their application and vice versa. So let's kind of delve a little more deeper. CloudFabrix has this data platform called Robotic Data Automation Fabric. It's actually a data fabric. And the data fabric and the data automation part is really has been the Achilles heel of observability and AI ops, because as you probably know, it all comes down to the data at hand. If the data is in order, everything else, whether it is AI ops, whether it is AI, whether it is observability, and so on, falls in place. So what Data Fabric does is it connects with disparate data sources, and we have 1,000+ of these data sources. It's a low-code environment based on what we call bots, which are, think of this as pre-built macros, which abstract all the connectivity with the data source. So there is data integration, there is data preparations, there is AI ML, there is a service ops or actions, what we call intent-based automation. And then finally, there is notification. All of this can be accomplished through an automated way through what we call observability pipelines. And that's the power of what the robotic data automation fabric brings to the Splunk integration. So as I said, the data fabric provides data automation for primarily focus on networking data sources, which because we have a very broad set of those networking data sources, but it could be any other data source as well. And it then feeds into Splunk observability with Splunk Observability Cloud. It could be ITSI, it could be Splunk security. And then finally, we are also able to provide intent-based automation to this pipeline. So just to reiterate, what these bots do is they provide data integration, they can do aggregation, transformation, privacy, right? They can do PAM masking, they can do enrichment through real-time topology ingest, right? Or discovery, they can do correlation, they can do routing, and they can do intent-based automation. So it's a very composable data fabric, which can be leveraged with a data platform like Splunk. So let's look at on a high level how we integrate. So there are two approaches on how we integrate. So the first and foremost is we ingest all of this networking data and the enrichment of this networking data into the Splunk platform. And then we have apps, Splunk apps running in the Splunk dashboards, which can provide heuristics, insight, and analytics on top of the Splunk platform. The second mode of deployment is where the data gets actually fed into Splunk. This is already an existing Splunk user, and we have a lot of customers who actually are using Splunk as their single source of truth. And then we run CloudFabrix, a data fabric, and the dashboards run on top of Splunk as another application, right? Call it private application. So let's delve a little more deeper into this. So this is the first form of deployment where, we are bringing all of particularly specific to the network, all these data sources through the data fabric, and they are being ingested into Splunk Enterprise, which becomes the single source of truth. And then on top of that, there'll be CloudFabrix apps. So we right now have two apps. One is what we call Unified Network Observability. The other is what we call Asset Intelligence. Okay, and they run within the Splunk dashboard or the glass table frameworks. The other form is now with all of this data enrichment and the networking data, we're able to enrich Splunk ITSI with the content pack. So that's the first form of deployment. The second form of, before that, right? So we have also automated this approach. So with this, what we have is an app called Splunkify, which has automated completely, with which we can move any dashboards and any kind of data on the RDF data fabric onto the Splunk with a few clicks, right? And it's very seamless, and it could be any application which can be moved. So we create a data definition file which can be imported into Splunk, as well as we provide that real-time stream of data which gets ingested into Splunk. So this makes it very seamless for any application developed on top of RDAF to be ported onto the Splunk platform. And we call that Splunkify. Right, so you can see there the apps as well as the data gets migrated from RDAF onto the Splunk platform. An example of this is asset inventory and topology discovery, which you'll see in my demo, which provides you, this is primarily useful for where customers want to do cloud migrations from their on-premises to the cloud, or repatriate from the cloud, or look at, hey, what are my application dependencies? What happens if there is a change management? What happens if I'm touching any of my network switches, right? And there is a real-time topology information which is brought in through this application, which can then be used to update CMDB as well. The second form of integration is where we have large telco customers who are actually using RDAF dashboards, right? So for them, they want to leverage the RDAF dashboards while leveraging Splunk as a single source of truth. So they also have data being fed into Splunk. Now, RDAF running as an application on top of Splunk can provide them that benefit, so they can leverage our dashboards if they have to, okay, while using Splunk as the data platform for all of their existing data sets. So there's also an ITSI content pack. Now that we have gotten all that networking specific data, whether it is data center, whether it is SD-WAN, whether it is mobility, whether it's optical, from all of these disparate networking domains, right? Where, as you know, there are different data types. Somewhere it is SNMP trap, somewhere it's bulk stats, somewhere it is GNMI. We bring in all of that data with enrichment, and now we feed that into Splunk ITSI through a content pack where we are able to now enrich and being able to help the correlation which the ITSI does. So let's talk about the apps on top of the Splunk platform. So the unified network observability, again, as I said, can cover different networking domains, data centers, mobility, edge, right, the 5G edge, and so on. It can talk to a multitude of different networking observability tools if you have them, like Thousand Eyes. It could be it could be a CDN, it could be DNAC, it could be any other tools, or it can do direct to device integration and bring in all of that data, ingest that in a correlated way into the Splunk platform, and visualize this through the glass tables and Splunk dashboards. So we have very broad network observability coverage across different domains, across different topologies, whether it be CDP, LLDP, and so on. We can do fault and performance management. We have a multitude of ways of collecting data, networking data specifically, normalizing that, enriching that, and then updating either CMDBs, okay, or leveraging other service ops tools, whether it be ServiceNow or BMC Remedy and so on. And also leverage and coexist with your existing operational and ITOM tools, whether it is Thousand Eyes, whether it is Zabbix, whether it is Prometheus, PRTG, and so on. The second application is this asset intelligence application, which, as I said, is primarily used for day zero operations, where customers really see value when they want to do any change management. They want to do data center network refresh or data center refresh of their applications and the data center moving to the cloud, repatriating from the cloud. So we are able to talk to the entire IT stack in your environment, bring in all of that data, create the application dependency maps, and then showcase different heuristics and dashboards across this collected data sets. So this is how the apps look like, which I'll also show you in a live demo. Okay, so this is the asset intelligence app. You can look at assets by region, by type, by site, right? What have you. You can look at the plan of record. Hey, what is the currency on these applications, right? What is the software version? And this is not restricted to just Cisco, but it can be multi-vendor. It could be Juniper, it could be Arista, again, what have you, from a networking vendor perspective. It can also show you the application dependency. Hey, if I were to service this particular network switch, what are the applications or who are the users who are going to get affected? How are they connected and so on? So this is how we show, the switch been connected to the server, been connected to the applications, right? So you know exactly what will be the impact of a change management or an application, repatriation and migration. Okay, we also show you some level of risk rating of these devices, right? I mean, what is the impact of this particular device on the overall applications and from a business perspective? The second application is this unified network observability. And as I said, this is primarily targeted across all of your disparate networking domains. Bring that data in and show the real-time topology display. Okay, you can overlay this with different alerts and incidents, right? Showcase the health of your networking devices. You can also show the entire topology. You can show how the services are running. So a lot of telcos, we have existing telco customers who leverage this for basically service assurance of all the digital services they're running on top of this environment. Okay. So we can look at the service by customer, service by type, and this is completely multi-tenant. You can look at the topology view by protocols, how they are badged with alerts, what is the health of these links. You can look at path visualization. You can look at topology view. You can look at geo maps and so on and so forth. Okay. So with that, let me dwell into the demo. Okay, and I will show you the actual apps running on top of the Splunk platform. So here you can see this is Splunk Enterprise, and we have a number of apps running here. So you can look at, particularly if you want to look at AWS VM Insights, how many of these VMs are actually up and running, how are they connected, what kind of VMs are these, and so on. But more importantly, what I wanted to focus on is the networking app. So this is the unified network observability. And if you go down, let's start with the data collection. So here you can see customer syslog messages by host, by severity, by managed status. You can look at the SNMP traps, total traps by IP addresses, and so on. You can look at events, right? Gateway events, or just so VCO is a Velo Cloud SD-WAN and gateway, and you can look at the VCO events by category, by type, by severity, by tunnel state. So all kind of heuristics is available to you from a single pane of a glass. You can also look at customer overview dashboards, right? How many incidents are open? How many of those are high priority? How many of those are low priority? How many of them are coming from SD-WAN devices, and so on? You can look at the incidents dashboard, right? So again, as I said, this caters to fault management. This caters to performance management in a networking domain. So you can also look at metrics and ML insights, right? So how many devices are there with high variance, right? And so on and so forth, right? What's the CPU load like? You can look at, all the alerts in the environment. right? How many of those are suppressed alerts based on the suppression policy? How many of them are active alerts? How many of those are cleared based on closed loop remediation? You can look at alerts by source and severity. You can look at duplicate alerts dashboards. You can look at, right? So it will provide you all the heuristics in an networking observability perspective. Okay. So that's the first app what I wanted to show you. The second app I wanted to show you was around asset intelligence. So you can go here and say, hey, I want to see everything about my data center. What is the hardware assets, what I have? What are the software assets, what I have? What are the licensing assets? What are the certificates I have? And this helps you in data center planning, in data center migrations, data center repatriation, and so on and so forth. Right? So you can look at, what are your fabric extenders? What are your access switches? Right? What's the plan of record on that? What's the currency like? How many routers are there? How many of them are core, aggregate, right? You can look at, DNAC controllers, multiple of those DNAC controllers. You can look at, assets by products, right? And then this doesn't, as I said, they don't have to be Cisco. You can see here the Juniper, there are vPulse, right? There are a number of different vendors, right? Multi-vendor, it caters to multi-vendors and all kind of heuristics you are able to see here. You can also look at software. You can look at software assets by PR, right? Software version types, software, the total software with the different version numbers. Okay. You can look at the application dependency on how they are connected, right? How many applications are there? How many of them are by zone? How many of them are connected to the host, right? And so on and so forth. It takes a little time. It's doing all the SPL2 queries in the background on the Splunk platform. So as you can see, this is all of the heuristics. You can also go not just to networking, but any kind of asset. So you can look at also IP telephony. If you have IP telephony, you can look at them, right? Plan of record or summary of the IP phones, right? So this is a very valuable asset where you can leverage Splunk and CloudFabrix and protect your existing environment and your investment. We will be at Cisco sales kickoff, the GSX or Impact as it is called. And we'll also be presenting at the Splunk user conference on September 4th. So reach out. We work with a multitude of GSIs and SIs who are also Splunk partners. One of our closer partners is Evolutio. So feel free to reach out to us, to our partners, or to the Cisco team to see how we can help you, achieve your goals. Thanks for watching.